Carl and Damon here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure. And of course, it's Last of Us. We are up to episode number 5. A nice early drop, although all it's done is create a bigger gap and wait for episode 6 now. Because I was wondering, oh, is episode 6 going to air on Sunday then? No, it's the Sunday after, unfortunately. So we've got now a 9-day wait instead of a 7-day wait. You must be be mad about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. So because especially when I'm really into something, and this is really into this.
Yeah, this is we said before, this is kind of your biggest pet peeve, the whole week by week, episode by episode. But at least the journey at the moment is incredibly fun. This is episode number 5, of course, Endure and Survive, directed by Jeremy Webb and, as per usual, written by Craig Mazin. Let's get it out here straight away. I fucking love this. This is up there with episode 3 for quality. But whereas episode 3 was all about heart and soul and emotion and stuff like that, and don't get me wrong, you get plenty of that in this episode. This one has action as well, a lot of action, kind of what we talked about in the episode 4 review. We said this is the build to what's going to come afterwards, and I personally think it delivered.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it had obviously a very good story. So obviously the story was brilliant, you know, and obviously the crazy action scene was just amazing.
It was, you know, and considering I'm not a big fan of the use of CGI here and there. Obviously the action sequence mixes both CGI and real effects. I feel like it all worked really nicely. I was a little worried when they first come racing out of the ground that we were going to get a little bit of World War Z. Now, I don't know if you've seen that movie, the adaptation of World War Z, or World War Z for you Americans, but World War Z is one of the best books I've ever read, one of the greatest pieces of zombie fiction, and I despise the movie with a passion, particularly for how it portrays zombies and that. So initially I was like, oh shit, are we going to get that kind of horde swarm mentality? But I don't think The Last of Us is as egregiously bad as that. And of course, the arrival of the bloater is just such a pure badass moment, and reactions to that. But we'll get to that. Let's just kind of start from the beginning. In particular, we got to highlight the 2 new members of the cast, the actors Lamar Johnson, who's playing Henry, and Kevon Montreal Woodard, who plays Sam. These are 2 video game characters brought into this. We actually saw them at the end of episode 4, as they're the ones that are holding Joel and Ellie at gunpoint. But here we begin sort of seeing what occurred in Kansas City when Kathleen, the leader of the revolutionary group, took over the city and dealt with Fedra and elements like that. It's actually quite a horrifying opening, because you kind of see the revenge they met out against Fedra. We're not just talking about beating them down and stopping them. We're talking about quite graphic, violent deaths. You know, it almost reminds me, if you've seen the movies, of like a purge moment, a purge thing. They're hanging them, they're dragging bodies through the street, stuff like that. I actually thought, God, like, regardless of what Fedra have done to you or bit done to you, this makes you know better. It's got that hypocritical sense to it. It's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, you know, it's typical human beings, isn't it? You know, who cares that there's a killer disease in the world? Let's all kill each other instead of joining together to destroy this disease. Let's just kill each other.
Yeah, you've got this really interesting balance where you have Fedra, who are extremely, what's the word, unflinching and horrible and nasty and all that, but they do offer the protection from the infected, which of course is what this episode will show you, that left unchecked, the dead, the infected, should I say, will run amok. So this is where we kind of get a bit more detail about the informants, the parts that we had seen in episode 4, and how a lot of people were informing on their neighbors to Fedra to get like stuff, and how Kathleen, Melanie Linsky, I really liked her more in this one than I did in episode 4, because here you really get the reasons and her nuances and her own selfish behavior, and how, dare I say that she's almost, by the end, I thought, okay, you've lost it. Like, you have lost it. Like, that's it. What I thought was a calm demeanor of a leader is someone that's barely in control, like it's a thread, and she's kind of holding on just about, purely based on revenge more than anything else. And here I really got it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, she was
Yeah,
obsessed with
obsessed.
just finding Henry. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's an obsession. So much more that she should rather sacrifice everyone just to find Henry, and she just doesn't care about the infection. She wants this boy.
Yeah, she doesn't see that as she sees Henry as her number one priority. She makes a point of saying that. And you'll be thinking, of course, if you're not familiar with the game and stuff, why Henry? What makes him so special? We actually spend some time with Henry and Sam before Joel arrives, tying it all in really nicely, where they're trying to escape. They meet up with the doctor, who we saw in episode 4 being interrogated and then killed by Kathleen. So we see how that links together. And we also see how Henry saw Joel's arrival and shootout with some of the revolutionary members. And then eventually he leads to him going and meeting and finding Joel in the tower block at the very top. This introduction to Henry and Sam is wonderful. The sign language, obviously Sam being a deaf and autistic child, and how they communicate, I thought it was brilliant. You immediately got that brotherly connection and how much what Henry would do to protect Sam, but also that Sam isn't a complete idiot. He's a survivor as well. I thought they were brilliant. I thought this first 10, 15 minutes just really let us get to know them.
Do you know what? I've noticed that out of the first 5 episodes, that the entire cast, male and female and children, every single one, they've all done an amazing job. Even all the side people, they've all done a really strong job in acting.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. The casting, they've nailed the casting. They really have. We talked about this before in other adaptions, where, look at something terrible like Welcome to Raccoon City, where the casting of Leon and the character of that is one of the worst things you'll ever see. Whereas other things have done it really well. Whether you don't like him, Master Chief and Halo, I think is brilliant casting, and so on. So they do, this seems to be nailing every aspect of it. The sequence where they're holding Joel and Ellie at gunpoint and trying to talk is not only brilliant, it even is kind of funny because of the whole Joel's asshole voice, and the reaction to that is just fantastic. I also really loved it. My wife pointed this out and she said it's really cool because while they're holding Ellie and Joel at gunpoint, we actually know they have no ammo because they did that scene beforehand. So it kind of adds that layer to it. But I love this. I loved how Henry was quickly lost control, allowing Joel to almost gain confidence that, look, we're not really in trouble here. These are two desperate people and stuff like that. And so when it does calm down and his unwillingness to kind of like, I don't want to help you, but like, realizing that we are stuck in the middle of this city and we're not going to be able to get out of here. But if you have an idea, let me hear it. I loved it. The whole asshole voice thing, and when like Ellie says to him, like, tell him it's okay, and he's just like, yeah, it's fine, and it's just that he sounds like, and it's like, she's like, dude, because he sounds like you wouldn't believe him. You'd be like, this isn't okay, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's great acting. The fact that he's being a dick, but he's trying to be nice or be a dick in the same thing.
He exudes threat. He's a survivor. He's not. And if he had one opportunity there to get the upper hand, he would take it. There's no denying that from Joel. So yeah, of course, Henry comes up and tells them, basically, we're going to get out via the tunnels, which Joel is dead against, because we then find out that Fedra, clearing the city out of the infected when they first came there years before, drove the infected into the tunnel. But he then says, like, no, a Fedra agent I was talking to, that I was informing to, told me that they went down there and cleared them. But he does say it was like 3 years ago. And Joel's just like, are you kidding me? That's a long time. Now, obviously, we know, have an indication that the infected are burrowing their way through somewhere, because we'd seen that in episode 4. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the tunnels, because obviously it means they're digging up somewhere else effectively. So we had that aspect. But seeing no other choice, and the fact that, well, look, we can at least back out of the tunnels, and we're not going to be shot by the infected. We can deal with them to a certain degree. Gets Joel to kind of agree and head into there. And the tunnels are empty. They come to that school portion where they talk about people being underground. Of course, Henry reveals the truth of what his informant was, and they add a sympathetic line that he was informing basically on his neighbors to get drugs for Sam's leukemia. Now, that's cool. It makes him more likable. It's an honorable reason and all that, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he gave up people's lives, in particular one person who would turn out to be Kathleen's brother, who was like basically a leader and someone that inspired. He gave him up in return for the drugs. So like I said, it's a really nuanced take because it's like, you can understand, but it doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Why was
I
what?
like the I love Ellie's relationship with Sam. I think the way again is great. It's great by the
She
actress.
reverts to
They
being a
both,
kid.
yes, but I also like the scene when Henry says to Joel, "Oh, about you two work well together, father and daughter." He's like, "Nope, she's not my daughter."
Yep.
Straight away,
Yep.
instantly, she's not my daughter.
Yeah, but Henry's face also says, yeah, you may not be related by blood, but yeah, you're treating her like that to a certain degree. You are right. Seeing Ellie and Sam interact, and Ellie kind of getting to be a kid more, playing around in the school area, kicking the ball, reading comics. It's nice. It's a take a breath, and you need the breath because of what follows this sequence. This is incredible, because they do emerge out of the tunnels outside a certain section of the town in a sort of residential area, but come under fire by a sort of sniper in a building at the end. One who Joel rightfully points out, because I noticed it beforehand, this dude's a terrible shot. Because there's a point where Sam and Henry break cover, and this dude doesn't even come close to them.
I know,
And you
Miles.
know, no, exactly. So I kind of thought, okay, it's just some lone guy who's probably trying to protect what's his, that kind of thing. So Joel figures, well, he's a terrible shot. I can get around this, and I can get into the house and get behind him. And he does do that. He does manage to do that, finding an old man in a chair with a sniper rifle. Joel offers him a chance. I really love this.
That's great.
Pleads with him. Says, look, give me the gun, stay here for 1 hour, and that's the end of it. That's all it has to be. And he says to him, like, please don't do this.
You can see in his eyes too. You can see he was desperate, but I don't want to kill you.
Yeah, I don't want to have to kill you, but I will kill you if you give me. And that's literally what the guy does. We see the guy kind of grab his weapon and turn, and then we cut back to where Ellie, Sam, and Henry are hearing a gunshot. And then we're going to see that Joel did kill the guy getting the sniper rifle. He then hears a radio static and sees that this person was communicating with Kathleen. Obviously, he'd called in a report that he had seen Henry and there Joel as well leaving. And we hear Kathleen say that they're going to be there any minute now. And that's literally what happens. This entire sequence is pure adrenaline, energized craziness as Kathleen and all her men arrived. Obviously, Perry is part of that as well. They arrive, smashing through cars, chasing down Ellie, and Joel trying to shoot to protect them. He does manage to shoot the driver of the one with the cow crusher at the front, and that crashes and smashes and blows up into a building.
That whole scene there with him shooting, to me, yeah, because he's a pretty good shot. For me, here I was panic shooting.
It was, because you can also see his hands are shaking. He's worried. He's trying to save Ellie. He's trying to save his adopted daughter, as it were. So there's that element too. Of course, they end up getting stuck. Henry, Sam, and Ellie behind the car as Kathleen comes out and basically talks to Henry through the car, explaining why she wants her revenge and stuff like that. He says, "Look, let Sam and Ellie go, and I'll give myself up." She refuses, basically saying that Ellie is with Joel, and Joel is responsible for killing others, so they kind of have to be tried as well. And while she's talking, this is why, like I said, I got the sense that, like, oh, this is too much for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this, you've gone this far with it. Henry does give up, stands up, and then kind of faces down Kathleen. A very tense moment, because I'm wondering, well, what's she going to do? And admittedly, I thought, oh God, he's about to die here, because she raises her gun. They've not been paying attention. As over to the left, where the truck crashed into the house, we then start to see it buckle and drop. And immediately you know, wait, what? Why is it? What do you mean it's collapsing into the ground? And obviously there's a tunnel underneath there, and the damage and the explosion had caused enough noise for the infected underneath that ground to go there. And a hole appears, and everybody stops and pauses, and you know, Joel's kind of watching from above as well. And everyone's kind of like, what's about to happen? And then they just burst out. They just burst out with speed and ferocity that is downright terrifying. And obviously it turns into carnage. Generally hard to keep up, you know?
I mean, what I liked about the scene, because obviously, as you were saying about the the whole potential CGI fail. It could have been really bad, but I think they've done it well because literally they stayed on the screen for only for about 2 seconds before
Boom,
it
boom,
zoomed
boom.
out, and
Yep.
it was brilliant.
Yeah, you get this wonderful zoom shot of the infected rushing up at that hole, and it's quite terrifying. And you know, the revolutionary group have guns, so they kind of give a little bit back and fight back as much as humanly possible. But as you know, the numbers are too much. As Joel starts to shoot as well to try and keep Ellie safe as she's trying to escape some infected. She ends up going inside a car, and we get a child infected following it. The way it moved,
Oh yeah,
it went
not bloody like
backwards and it's
bloody athleticness. It was
yeah, it's
proper
got
freaky.
that what would you call it, like aerobic, I don't know what, I can't think of the word, but yeah, it's like backwards flips in
Yeah,
and moves like that. That's really, really good. But Ellie gets out safely. Seeing that Sam and Henry are being grabbed by someone infected on her car, she rushes over and helps them, and they do manage to escape, mainly because the arrival of a bloater that comes. You'll have seen the post, you'll have seen this beast. It's a larger, more dangerous, ferocious kind of beast that looks horrible. It comes out of the ground. Perry sees it. You see it in his eyes. You see it in his eyes. He's just like, we're dead. We're dead. He tries to shoot it, which gets its attention, and it runs over. Kathleen tries to make a run for it. They cleverly make you see what happens to Perry, but don't show you what happens to Perry. As we in the distance, we see the bloater picking him up. And we'll put it this way, the shadow suggests a head got detached.
Yes, he ripped his head off. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Ripped his head off. Kathleen not willing just to give up Henry. As Henry, Ellie, and Sam are arriving at the house that Joel is in, she follows them and points a gun at Henry. She previously, and it is kind of ironic because she previously said about kids dying, that she will now be killed by the child, a child infected that jumps on top of her. There is a moment where Ellie pauses as if she should save her, you know, considering it. And I did wonder if they were going to do that, because bear in mind, Kathleen is a new character, not from the game, so they could have played around with it. But we see her being bitten here, and you kind of realize that's the end of that.
Yeah, it's the end of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great sequence. It really gets your heart racing, particularly as the last shot of this action sequence zooms out as we see the infected just racing towards the city. And you know, you don't need to see it. You don't need to see it. You know those people, they're all dead. You know it.
Yeah. There's no way they're not surviving that.
Sometime after, we cut to Ellie, Henry, Joel, and Sam having barricaded themselves in a house and basically trying to calm down and relax and get some sleep and rest before they continue their trip to Wyoming. Here, Joel softens and offers Henry to come with them. You know, come with us, basically. And Henry's like, yeah, absolutely. And it's lovely. And right, remember I said to you that in the previous episode, one of the coolest things is knowing things, fates, that we're watching it with someone who doesn't know the fates of characters. So I knew the fate of Henry and Sam, of course, from the game. Lou didn't. So I'm like, I said to Lou, there's the whole group. It's going to be great. You know, that kind of thing. And, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because during this as well, we're spending time with Ellie and Sam in the bedroom as they're talking back and forth, you know, that friendship's really, that bond has grown really between them. Ellie's kind of protective of Sam, you know, as well. And they're talking back and forth. He's using his board to write. And he writes a line like, do you think if you become a monster, you're still you inside? But then he shows that he got bitten. And I guess it happened during under the car sequence in his leg. And you can already see the signs of infection. Ellie panicking a little bit, but obviously really cleverly looks towards the door. Like, because she knows, like, if Joel finds out, he's going to kill him instantly. Absolutely. Which you know why, but yeah. And she says, look, my blood's medicine. She cuts her hand and rubs his wound with blood, obviously hoping that will potentially cure him. And they kind of go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously we know the fate, obviously what happens to Sam, but I'm so pleased because when I saw her doing the whole blood scene, I thought, oh God, please don't do this stupid thing. Don't let her cure it. Please don't let her cure it.
It can't be that easy, right? It can't be that easy.
It can't be that simple. You know, surely they've got to actually inject the blood into his system, not just bloody rub it on his wound.
Well, we don't even know if that's actually what it is as well. But yeah, of course, you know. But the thing is, you knew deep down, even if you don't know the game, you knew deep down the likelihood of this, you know, it's already in his veins, it's already traveling through his body. A little bit of blood rubbed around the wound isn't potentially going to fix something that happens quite fast, bear in mind too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Henry asks her to stay awake with him all night, basically, which is in a kid's way of saying, "You keep an eye on me. If
Yeah.
I turn, deal with me." That kind of thing. I got that. We then cut to morning, and Ellie has fallen asleep in a chair, waking up to see Sam sitting on the bed with his back to her. And obviously, you have this moment, and it is one or two ways. Which way is it going to go? Is she going to think he's infected, and then he's going to be like, "Hey, I'm fine," or is he going to be infected? And thing is, they could. I thought they'd really take a long time doing this part, building up as she sort of slowly goes towards him.
Yeah.
That's a horror movie thing. That's what they do. This doesn't. It quickly, she just goes over and he
Straight away,
immediately jumps on her and attacks her. And she falls backwards through the door into the living room, obviously waking up Henry and Joel. And, Ellie's lying on her back trying to hold Sam, being a lot smaller than her. She's able to hold him at bay, while Henry and doesn't know what to do. Joel immediately goes for his weapon. Henry shoots at him to stop him getting his weapon. And panicking, like he's just like, what the hell do I do? What the hell do I do? He ends up pulling the trigger and shooting Sam. And the silence that follows that, and he's pointing a gun at Joel, and Joel's like, "Look, give me the weapon, don't do this," and all that kind of thing. And you can see Henry, he's just freaking out. He's like, "What did I do? What did I do?" Like, he can't quite believe what's just happened. Like, because bear in mind, like, for these characters, they went from being asleep, relatively safe, to within 30 seconds, 10 seconds maybe, Sam ending up dead, not understanding why, how, and all of this. And think of what that would do to you.
You've also got to take in the bear in mind that they're both kids.
Yeah.
They're both children.
Yeah. Henry's maybe early 20s, late teens, that kind of thing. But yeah, like, I mean, we saw how much what he was willing to do to protect Sam, and the fact that he had to shoot him. So it's no surprise that he puts the gun to his head and pulls his trigger. Joel tries to stop him at that moment, but of course it doesn't the case, and Henry shoots and kills himself, obviously in pure despair and despondency and panic and all of that. This is the exact sequence that plays out in the game, folks, if you don't know, except in the game they actually cut away immediately afterwards. Here they actually spend a moment to let us drink in the traumatic events that just occurred, but also to show us how that has an effect on Ellie. Like, bear in mind what she kind of was able to ease and relax and be a child again with Sam. And again, immediately from that, these new people, this child that you met, you liked, and Henry have all ended up dead because of this. And the fact as well, she earlier told Sam that she was scared of being alone completely, because obviously she can't die from infection. You kind of see it as like, well, she could be the last person alive eventually.
I also think that it affected Joe too, because obviously just the fact that it was the first time in a long time where Joe had accepted new people to come with him. And obviously he was shocked.
Yeah, I think the bigger effect of him is his concern of how it affects Ellie. We see that in the last scene of the episode, when after having buried Henry and Sam, Ellie writes the word sorry on his board and leaves it on his grave. Joel sees that, he looks at her, and he's worried, he's clearly concerned about how much trauma this has. And she does seem less relaxed, less jovial. She seems more hard, more like emotionless, as she kind of says, "Look, we're going," as she walks away from him.
Do you think the I'm sorry, do you think that's because she fell asleep, or that she couldn't cure him?
I think it could be a bit of both. It could even just be the general thing. I'm sorry that this happened to you. I don't necessarily think she feels guilty or responsible for it. I think it's more the fact that she wasn't able to help him. And that's where this one ends. Nearly an hour. It's about 57 minutes long. That flies by. This was brilliant. It's hard to compare this to the other brilliant episode 3, because I think they're quite two different things. This one's got more action, and its traumatic event is more depressing than the beauty and emotion of the traumatic events that occur in episode 3. But I think this is just as enjoyable. I don't know about if you felt that as well.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's got more action, but you think about it, it was a 57-minute episode, but there's only about maybe 10 minutes of action. The rest of it again was all story. But that was what made it very interesting, because obviously the build up too.
Agreed. And I'd say, but the thing about the story beats in this is they felt like they were always tense, preparing for the next sequences of action. Whereas episode 4 felt like one long build towards this episode, this felt like the payoff, but not such a point where you were like, okay, well, what are we going to do next? Because, episode 6, I don't know if you've seen the title for it, have you?
I haven't seen the title, no.
Kin, Kin, as in, relations. So it's going to be Joel meeting up with his brother, likely more than anything else. So, we know that's where that one's going next. But again, as far as character developments go, I reckon there'll be some that might bemoan the fact that we had another set of characters enter The Last of Us just to completely exit it. But I think this show has done an incredible job of, in the short amount of time that these characters exist, making them feel important, making them feel part of the bigger story. Because ultimately, you've got to look at this as well as a video game movie, a video game TV series adaptation. These are your side quests. The story is The Last of Us. The story is Joel and Ellie's story. It's Ellie's story really more than anything else. So we are going to have this aspect of it. But I think incredible acting, incredible characters, incredible emotion, scrolling through social media after and sort of seeing the jokes. And there was a funny one I saw earlier on this morning where it was like someone wrote a montage of Last of Us happiest moments, and it was just a black screen. Because there are none, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is that kind of thing. But people are saying that this is the bar setter for adaptions, for video game, movie, TV show adaptions, in that not only does it stay extremely true to the story and aspects of the video game, when it does deviate, it does so in a way that enhances the overall experience, but also makes it incredibly watchable for those who will never have played the game and may never play the game, in that you can follow along and not feel like it's just nods and winks to the video game. I now believe, I was unwilling to kind of jump on that because we're only 4 episodes in, give it a chance. We're now at the halfway point, and I now agree. I think this is the bar setter for adaptions going forward. I think we probably not done in this series they made what into a movie series and they made what into a TV show series. I don't think there's been anything as good as this. We've done some great adaptions. We really have. We've seen some strong stuff in the last couple of years, whether it be the Mortal Kombat remake, the Sonic the Hedgehog remake, Halo TV show, ones that I've seen that we haven't covered yet, things like Castlevania, which are all great stuff. The Last of Us is just on another level, man.
Yeah, I mean, if we're comparing to anything, we'll compare it to Halo, because obviously Halo was fantastic, but even Halo added
in our opinion, in our opinion, I was about to say, because I know a lot of people don't share that view.
But obviously, in our opinion, obviously, the 9 episodes of Halo, we had 1 or 2 down episodes, which were okay. So far, we've had every episode has been top notch.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're absolutely right. We have 4 left, man. 4 left to get through. A little bit of a wait for episode 6, as I said at the start, but for now, my God. You know what I'm kind of looking forward to doing, and I think it might be a rare thing. I think when the show's over, when the season's over, I might be like, this is worth a rewatch from episode 1 with all the episodes there.
Yeah, old way through. Yeah.
You know what The Last of Us is doing for video game adaptions? It is doing, and I know we talked about this last time, so you can't relate in the same way, but I think if you're a fan, The Last of Us is doing what The Mandalorian did for Star Wars. It's doing for video game adaptions what The Mandalorian did for Star Wars. We all love Star Wars, but Star Wars has had a checkered past. We know that. We know there are issues in the content, in the movies, and elements like that. And along came The Mandalorian to make everybody go, shit, this is what we want Star Wars to be. It's brilliant. It's amazing. And everybody loved it. This is what The Last of Us is doing. Checkered history of video game adaptions, ups and downs, stuff that either divide audiences and stuff like that. And along comes The Mandalorian to bring us all together. The ones that want true adaptions and the ones that don't give a shit. Put them all together and everybody just sitting around the table, having a drink and going, yeah, it's fucking great, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Episode 5, Endure and Survive. You got any thoughts that you know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch.
from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?